Facebook and watch me live. We're also live streaming on LinkedIn and on Twitter. And by the way, you can find me at elisarobin.com. You can also just email me at elisarobin@msn.com. Love to hear from you. I do respond to posts, and I'd love to chat with you about your life and the radio.
Number 2 is not up on top.
And did anyone get anything I said?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay, let's try that again. I had a slight technical glitch there. My bad. This is Dr. Elisa and the Dr. Elisa Show here on KUHS Denver, the stream. So thank you for joining in. Not sure why I can't get technology right every single time, but hey, there you have it. So if you're just joining me for the first time, thank you. You can watch me on Facebook Live, the Dr. Elisa Show on Facebook. Hey, we're also live streaming in case you want to know, you want to actually see me on LinkedIn and on Twitter. But if you want to chat, really want to chat with me today, you got to go to Facebook and you got to post in there under the Dr. Elisa Show. Or you can actually text the studio line here at 720-386-0513. And we are definitely live. So, how are you doing today? First day of fall, pretty amazing, huh? And I've got a lot to talk with you about today. Before I go down that pathway about what are we going to talk about, just a little more introduction about me. Again, I know you know this, but I'm just going to show you my book, The Dark Fire. It is a spiritual adventure romance. It's available on Amazon, and you can get it in a Kindle format, or you can get it in paperback, hardcover. And I have to tell you, I still do have 1 or 2 free Kindle versions left if you would like to read it, but you got to sign up for my website, elisarobin.com, if you want to get it. Still do have a few of those. I am also putting together a book, and it should be done by the next time I talk to you in 2 weeks, on how to use a wine glass for scrying, which is part of what happens in this book. It also happens in my first novel, Way of the Well, and you can also find that on Amazon. All my free Kindle versions are gone for that one. Sorry, you missed the boat, but that's okay. And just in case you want to know who am I really, what am I really about, try Pirate Wisdom. This is my leadership book, and it gives you an idea about what life on the loose, my tagline, really means. So check it out. Okay. So today, a few things. Remember that this show is spiritually multilingual. What does that mean? If my language is kind of getting to you a little, like, just change the verbiage. We're often talking about the same thing. You may say God, I say Hashem. Somebody else says universe, and somebody else says spirit. They're all the same thing. We're talking, so go for the content, for the meaning, not the verbiage. Don't get distracted. Okay, and I know people are jumping in from all over, but for some reason I'm actually not seeing it on my computer here today. So I guess I can't say hello to everybody from everywhere. But hello, everybody from everywhere. I also want to talk just briefly with you today, just at the intro here, about what I do, just so you know. So, and I have to say, I've come out on this show about having this whole life as a psychic, as a astrologer, and having a PhD, and having been an academic dean. And somebody pointed out to me today that those paths I kept separate for a great deal of my life. And it's hard to be an academic dean and, talk about, people's charts and have them take you seriously. Though it does sound like everybody believes in Mercury retrograde these days. So, we're getting there a little bit. But for most of my life, I kept those two things separate. Hold on. Let me turn off that. Okay. I kept those things separate. And so I had this sort of two-path life. And life on the loose for me is about bringing those paths together. And I'm wondering how many of you out there have had to live that, have had to say, I'm living a two-path life. I have my spiritual world or my emotional world, and then I have my career world, and they have to be separate. And what I'd love it is if you would jump in the Facebook chat or you would text me at 720-386-0513 and just say yes, or give me a thumbs up. Because I've realized more and more that this is a dilemma that so many of us face. We're walking two paths. We have our lives separated so much by who we are inside, that the part we feel we can't disclose, and then the part that like makes us money, right? So the part that keeps our spirit going, and the part, this whole other part, where we feel like we have to be that other person. And that was my life for so long. I talk about it, you've heard me say this, about putting my life out on long-term lease. And if that's you, if that resonates, come on, say something to me. Give me just a hi in the text, or go to Facebook and just give me a thumbs up. I'm renewing, like I'm refreshing that page to see if maybe there'll be some comments there. So, what happens when we do that? What happens when we have these two lives? Interesting. I've noticed, and tell me if you believe this too, that our heart closes up. It's hard to let love in. It's hard to truly appreciate things. It's hard because we're always on guard. We have a personal prejudice against the two parts of ourselves, and we're always on guard. We can't go to work and be who we are, and we can't go to our other world and talk about what we do. It's very interesting. Life on the loose, that sort of renaissance of spirit that I talk about, is about letting those two paths come together. Now trust me, I know for many people it's not safe outwardly, but it needs to be safe inside of us, where we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that these parts of ourselves, this disparate energy, needs to come together. Why? Because it's exhausting otherwise, right? It's so tiring. It's like, having a mask on our whole face all the time. And I think it interferes, I know it interferes, with where we're headed in life. So one of the things I want to talk about today, and I still can't see who's sliding in, so I'm sorry about that. I'd love to know where you're coming in from. One of the things that is absolutely true about this is it influences the future we create. Absolutely influences that. So I've had lots of conversations recently with people about, why do you use astrology? So there's one road. And gee, I thought you were like an academic. Oh, I am. And I thought you understood psychology. Yeah, I do. Well, how can you then? Because we've turned into a world of black and white. No more shades of gray. And gray's pretty boring sometimes, so no more shades of everything else in there, right? You get to be an A or a B, a left or a right, an up or a down. There you go. That's what you get to be. When we do that, we deny our soul's craving. We deny everything we can be. We deny our destiny. In fact, we choose to not have a destiny. Right? Destiny is a choice. We're going to talk about that in a second. Destiny is not put upon us. It's a choice. I keep looking at my Facebook site here, and it's freezing up for some odd reason. Okay, let's keep playing it. There we go. I keep refreshing it to see if you're chatting with me. Come on. 720-386-0513 or the Dr. Elisa Show, Facebook. All right, back to this. When our hearts can't open, we miss out so much of life. We may feel like we're in love, but we're not truly letting the experience of love into us. Why? Because we're still on guard. We are prejudiced against something inside of us, or we're judgmental about something inside of us, or we're protecting ourselves. And it is hard to open our hearts and to just be open and know, yeah, it might hurt at some point, but the glorious feeling that we get when we're open keeps us away from the fear. Right? That the fear, when we're responding out of fear, and we see so much of that in the world, we're making choices out of fear. Again, we're not choosing destiny. Okay, so what is destiny? And again, this is what people say to me about astrology, so let's go there. I'm always being asked, well, does astrology predict my life? And the answer is no. Well, is destiny in my chart? No. Destiny is something that tells us how to choose. So just for a minute, humor me, right? What if destiny is actually messages telling us to look inward, to look around us, to listen to the messages from Spirit, from God, from whatever you want to say, and to set course based on that. And to understand that our life isn't preordained. There are situations that we're born into. And no, life isn't fair, and life isn't equitable, and life isn't even inclusive sometimes. But within where we are, we have choice. And it is those choices that sets up what we might call destiny. Why am I talking about that? Because astrology then says your soul came here craving an experience, craving a way of being in the world, and you buried that information before you were born. You put it in your astrology chart by choosing your time of birth. Or maybe God chose your time of birth, or Goddess chose your time of birth, or the universal energy or the force chose your time of birth. The information is in your chart. And when we live with that knowledge, we make choices that open the world before us. That destiny suddenly becomes something that isn't about being rich and famous and creating the life that everybody else envies. It's about craving something that fills our soul. And when we create that, we live fully. And that's what the world needs from us. Because here's the other thing I want to say. And again, I'm not hearing you chatter back to me. Come on. Go on Facebook, the Dr. Elisa Show. Chatter back. Tell me, I agree, I don't agree. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Go to the phones. 720-386-0513. Or if you're one of my clients, you have my private line. And I am in the studio, and you can text me on my private line with your thoughts. Okay. Where was I? What if, when we live exactly our truest self, not our best self, our truest self, that is what the world needs. Because we're not in this alone. Imagine that each of us is a thread of a tapestry. And we need to be that specific color in that tapestry for the world. Because that, I think, is one of the big disconnects we're hearing in sort of the New Agey stuff. Be your best self. Be you. Just do you. Okay, why? Yes, for you. But also, because then we show up for the world in a way that is not about fear. We help the world move from fear. And that's that would be huge if the world stopped living off of the energy of fear and started living off the energy of hope and resiliency and love and joy and laughter, all of that energy. Bad things happen. Let's just get that. Bad things happen no matter what we do. And by the way, none of us get out of here alive. Just saying. But it's an amazing ride. It's an amazing journey. If we give ourselves to it, love it, embrace it, live it, and understand that that's what the world needs. Okay, there's the philosophy. I often say to my clients, and you guys know this, so go ahead and send me a thumbs up on the text or give me a thumbs up here on Facebook. You know, you can also watch on the KUH Denver site too. I should be live on there too. and live on LinkedIn and live on Twitter. So please just, give me just check it out. And chat with me, because I'd love to hear from you. Okay. Take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. You came here. You came here for a reason. And it is often to overcome the addiction to prediction. The addiction to knowing, the addiction to guarantees, right? I mean, I got it. We all have this. We look for the next best thing. We look for the best practices. We look for the guaranteed programs that will help us grow ourselves and heal ourselves. We look for every guarantee out there. And in that, we walk away from ourselves. Part of what I help my clients do is listen to their own intuition. And we do it again. This is an interesting dive, right? Astrology, psychology, linking the stuff together. What if your life is supposed to be a dance of love, linking your psychological self, your emotional self, your financial self, your spiritual self, but they all dance together in love. And no, I'm not one of those people who says love is the only emotion out there, but it's a pretty good emotion, right? Just saying. So why am I bringing this up today? Well, because today's an interesting day. It is the fall equinox, which in many traditions is a new year. And it happens to be coming very close to, in the Jewish traditions, New Year. Jewish tradition actually has 3 New Years, but this is the big New Year. The date we think that the world was actually created, and that anything that happens, time within Judaism is seen as marked by an event, so that the date becomes very, very important, okay? And I'm getting some text messages from clients. This is just really, really interesting. And so I'm getting some thumbs up from my clients. Of course, they are my clients, so you might think that they're just agreeing with me, but trust me, right, they might argue. And so this time period, we've got the fall equinox. We have the month of Elul, which is a Jewish month of preparing for transformation and change. We have the Jewish New Year. We're approaching the time of the darkness. We're approaching Halloween. We're approaching Day of the Dead. We're approaching all these times, the time of year that sends us inward. Right? Summer, we're just out there having a grand time, and then fall happens for a reason. The seasons change for a reason. And even, I grew up in LA, and we don't actually have those seasons. If you're on Hawaii, you don't really have those seasons. If you're on the equinox, if you're on the equator, you don't really have those seasons. But the time still changes, and there's something about that we experience internally, because we're humans and we're programmed for that. And so this is a time where going inward is so incredibly powerful, right? And one of the things, let me bring this full circle, that we find when we go inward is we find where we're divided internally, right? Where are we split? Now you may be saying to yourself, I'm not split, I'm not hiding anything. And you're not telling me if that's true. I'd love to hear it. But go a little deeper. What part have you always kept secret? Now, again, I'm not telling you to tell the world every secret. I don't think that's safe or wise. But telling yourself those secrets and finding a way to walk with internal harmony, that is important. Okay, there's something else going on right now. And again, if you just joined me, you could chat with me. This is the Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS Denver, the stream. And you could join me on Facebook, the Dr. Elisa Show. You can post your thoughts. You can watch me also. We stream live on LinkedIn. We stream live on Twitter. And so if you want to see what I look like, right, you can tune in that way. And by the way, I'm easy to find. I am on TikTok, Elisa Robin. I am on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn and Twitter, though not as much. Yes, I'm on Facebook. And you can go to my website, elisarobin.com, and you can watch replays of these shows on YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel. I am everywhere. It's amazing. It's also amazing how everybody tells you to be everywhere and manage every single aspect of being everywhere, which I just have to say is exhausting. That's a side comment. I'm trying. I'm working on it. Okay, why else is right now important? So let's jump into a little astrology. Now, as a reminder, and I've talked about this before, what is astrology? And again, I still can't see where you're all flying in from. I'd love to see that, but it's not up on my screen. But hello to everyone joining me from everywhere. Astrology is not just your sun sign, and all of you know your sun sign, right? You know you're an Aquarius or a Pisces or an Aries or whatever. That's your sun sign. When you run a chart, there are 10 planets, plus your rising, plus your north and south node, which are the most important pieces for me when I work with somebody, because those are the pieces that talk about your soul's craving. And though each of those planets and the nodes can be in one of the 12 different signs, and they can be in one of the 12 houses on a chart, and they can be in relationship to all the other planets. So a chart is a tapestry, or a novel perhaps, and if you just read the first 2 words, you don't get the rest of the novel. And that's your birth chart, and it never changes. However, everything in the sky keeps moving, and then it forms a relationship with whatever is in our birth chart. And it is those relationships that continually change and set up for us the energy that we are dealing with at the time. It doesn't predict. It doesn't say this is what's going to happen to you, but it talks about the energy, right? This is what you're experiencing, and now make choices about what to do with that. Let me know if that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up somewhere in Facebook. I'm going to refresh it to see if perhaps I just can't see what you're saying to me, or text me. Wherever you're flying in from, just let me know. And in fact, just tell me where you are from. Where are you watching from? Where are you listening from? Put that in Facebook. Okay. So what are the planets in the sky doing? And this is what an astrologer does. This is why if you buy something online, you buy a $35 printout of your chart, right? What I can tell you is it is never going to give you the information like this. It isn't going to say, this month, here's what's up for you. Here's your solar return. Here's, you turn to this age. Here's this month while you're feeling anxious or open or wondering if, is love around the corner. You're never going to get those answers from a printout. You get those answers dealing with an astrologer, and especially someone like me who's also a psychologist. Like, here's the energy, what do we do about it? So right now in the sky, most of you know about Mercury retrogrades, right? You know that when that planet appears to move backwards in the sky, really it can't physically do it, but it appears in relationship to us to move backwards in the sky, everything to do with communication goes haywire, right? Everything. I mean, it's sort of amazing that right now my computer's working, you're hearing me, I can't see you, but besides that, right, things are working. So, what happens when other planets go retrograde? Ooh, good question and big stuff. So let me tell you right now, I've got today's chart in front of me. Mercury is retrograde. Pluto is retrograde. Saturn is retrograde. Neptune is retrograde. Jupiter is retrograde, and Uranus is retrograde. 6 planets, and all the major planets are retrograde. What's left? Well, the moon never goes retrograde, and Venus and Mars are not retrograde. But everything else is retrograde, which is, pretty interesting, right? Just checking out the stuff around me, checking out the technology. Okay. What happens when other planets go retrograde? What might you be feeling with this? So let's just chat a little. Mercury is the easiest one to understand. Mercury is retrograde in the planet Libra. Okay? And as it's retrograde in Libra, if you are a Libra, you're going to be feeling this a little bit more intensely than other people. If you're in the sign opposite Libra, this is not a quiz, right, which is Aries, you're going to be feeling it. If you're a Gemini or Sag, you're probably also. These are the planets that, the signs that have a connection in some way or another to Libra. What, and it's going to go backwards into Virgo, and so everybody else is going to have some effects of this too. So what does the effect feel like? What we know, what we are always hearing, is everything to do with communication. But the question is why? So sort of general astrology, right? Oh my gosh, Mercury's retrograde, the computers might crash. But what is it really about? That's talking to an astrologer. Mercury, because it's about communication, is about how we express outward. We chat, we sing, we dance, we have a computer, we have a telephone, we have lots of stuff. When a planet goes retrograde, it is pushing us inward. Okay? It's like a pause or a stop sign sometimes. You know, when you hit the train track and there's actually, you don't hit it, but you come up to a train track and there's a train going by, you only have one option, and that is to stop and wait and contemplate. That's a retrograde. The planet is shoving you inward, or it is suggesting that if you go inward, you might have a better time with this. It doesn't tell you not to move forward, right? It tells you to think about it, to contemplate it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff about don't sign any contracts. Well, that's not true. Don't sign any brand new contracts. Like, don't wake up in the morning and decide you're going to move to Alaska and sell your house and buy a house under a retrograde. But if you have known in your heart that it is time for you to move, and you've been trying to get that to work, and the opportunity suddenly shows up under a retrograde, grab it. Grab it. Because you have slowed down enough to notice and to pay attention to what the universe is giving you. And the universe is responding. But we all move so fast on two different paths, right? So when you're at work, you're on that path where all you notice is the timekeeper and the emails you've got to respond to, and the articles you've got to write, and the work you've got to get done, and the phone calls you've got to make. And you don't notice this quiet little voice over here saying, hey, remember you wanted this to happen? The retrograde makes us stop long enough to notice. So let me know. Put something in the Facebook site. Let me know. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Does something interesting and magical just happen? And did you almost not notice? Wherever you're coming in from. Did you almost not notice? Okay, that's Mercury. What happens when another planet goes retrograde? Let's talk about Saturn. We're going to go through these sort of in order, like how much they affect us, right? We'll do Saturn and Jupiter. What about Saturn? Saturn is the timekeeper. Saturn is the planet in your chart. Like, if I want to know how you believe the world works, I pull your chart and I look at Saturn. And it gives me an idea of what you're afraid of, and also how you think the world functions. What is the structure that all of us rely on? We think we rely on, right? Because it may not be real, but it's what we believe. That's Saturn in your chart. It can sometimes represent the father energy. Now, get that very clear. The father energy in your life, your past, okay? Whoever represented that for you. So right now, Saturn is in Aquarius, my very favorite sign, by the way, and it is retrograde, and it is sitting right on my moon. If any of you really are curious about who I am, you astrologers out there, give me some comments in Facebook, right? Text me, 720-386-0513. Or come on, my clients. A couple of you tried to call me. Don't do that. If you're my client, text me. So Saturn is retrograde. So think about that. This is the planet of how the world works. And it has gone backwards. It's pushing all of us inward. All of us, and especially those who are Aquarians or Scorpios or Leos or Taurians, to come inward and to examine that structure, those beliefs. Interesting that just today somebody said to me, you've been living your life on two paths. That's a structure that you put in place to sort of protect yourself. And now it's time to bring those paths together, like I'm doing right now. Yeah, I got a PhD in psych, and I'm really good at that. And I'm an amazing mentor, should you need one. And I use astrology. And all of that is real for me. And no, I don't predict your future. Oh, and I also have crystal balls that I love. I brought one with me. I always, my first degree is geology, minerals. But I don't use tarot cards. I have astrology. And I have to say, I love having a crystal ball around because it opens me up. Opens up my intuition, we'll put it that way. So when Saturn is retrograde, we re-examine. It's an opportunity to re-examine how we believe the world works and what we've been telling everybody else about how the world works and why maybe it doesn't actually work that way. This is a good time to stop and think about that. What assumptions have you had that have been driving you forward? And are you on your right path? I got to tell you a side story about that. And actually, you've got to go to my website and sign up for my blog because a lot of these thoughts show up in my blog. So I just published a blog called Coyote Wisdom because I met a coyote on the trail the other day. Very, very close to me. And we were staring at each other, which was like way cool, right? But what does Coyote ask you? Coyote's the trickster, but asks quite often, are you on the right path? Interesting that I had that interaction. And then somebody said to me, your two paths are split and Saturn is retrograde. Synchronicity, don't you love it? Serendipity, are you paying attention? Okay, Jupiter's retrograde, and it is retrograde in Aries. All right, what is Aries? Aries is about moving forward. Oh, should I back up and tell you that Aquarians are the rebels, in case you didn't notice? The freedom seekers of the zodiac, the ones who don't think outside the box. We simply never noticed there was a box to think outside of. Aries, who are you? You are the forward motion of the zodiac. You are the one who have a plan and you're always on task and you're always going in that direction. Wonderful. Jupiter is retrograde in Aries. So what do you think might be going on right now? Yeah, our forward motion is slowed down. Isn't that interesting? And it's in Jupiter. What does Jupiter do? It expands anything it's next to. Anything. It's not very picky. It just grows. So what happens then? What happens when Jupiter is retrograde in our forward motion? Okay, so to be specific about this, I'd have to look at your chart and see where Jupiter retrograde lands in your chart. Are you getting this? Are you picking this up? That it isn't simply the planet. It's the planet in relationship to your chart. This is in Aries. It's not exactly on, but it's approaching. It's kind of close to my Mars. I should notice that it's not the time to push through and expand because Jupiter is retrograde. Go inward. Look at those two paths that you have and see if you can heal that before you move forward. That's specific to me. What an astrologer then does is says, how's it specific to you? But if you're feeling that sense, so I can't get anything done, things aren't running like they should be, they're not moving forward, welcome to Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury retrograde. At a deeper level, we have 3 other planets. And let me just pause and tell you who you're listening to. You are listening to the Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS Denver, The Stream. I'm really enjoying being with you today. I'm truly having the sense of feeling you listen to me and opening your hearts and your minds to some of this information, even though you're not posting, even though you're not texting. I know you're out there. I know you're listening. I have my crystal ball. It's telling me that you're listening. Okay. And if you want more of this, go to elisarobin.com. Robin is spelled with a Y. So it's ELISAROBYN.com. That's my website. And you can find everything else. I am on Twitter and LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Or you can just email me, right? ElisaRobin@msn.com. Neptune is the planet. So think about Greek mythology. Neptune was the god of the ocean, the underworld, the mysterious, where our psychic senses emerge from. Okay? Neptune is retrograde in Pisces. Oh, and Neptune rules Pisces, and Pisces is that psychic sense. All of you Pisces out there, two comments. One, please ask for what you need, because we're not as psychic as you, and we need to know. And two, go ahead and slip into your intuition. Slip into that place of knowing. Don't be afraid of it. Neptune is retrograde in Pisces. So you might think that means all of your psychic senses have been shut down, but no. It means that Neptune is slowing you down to pay attention, right? Fall, we're being pushed inward. Pay attention to the changing seasons. Pay attention to the synchronicity, to the things that are happening around you. When I started talking astrology on the show today, I looked down and it was at 11:11, and I've been seeing 11:11 everywhere. Some of you, are you numerologists? Let me know in Facebook. Let me know in a text message. Does it necessarily mean something? No. Is it synchronicity? Yes. Are you hearing this today when you've been struggling with something and it's giving you some notions and some ideas and some creative ideas? Because believe me, this is also a very creative time. When Neptune is retrograde, it isn't that we stop hearing, it's that we're listening to a different part of ourselves. That amazing creative life force within us that doesn't speak necessarily in words. Doesn't speak in academic articles and research papers. Doesn't speak necessarily in the language that we're used to. It may show up in dreams. Pay attention. It may show up in who you meet on the bike path, like I met Coyote. Pay attention. That wasn't a bike path, but or whoever you meet on a trail. It may show up because you turned left instead of right, just to do something different and took a different path on your journey today. Pay attention. That's Neptune. It's telling you your psychic senses are strong. Okay. Where are we? I'm doing well today. Okay. What is left? The next planet. We all pronounce it differently. Uranus, whatever. This is the planet that rules Aquarius. It is retrograde in Taurus. Let me put that together. Because it's connected to Aquarius, it is the planet that asks you, who would you be if you'd never been socially programmed? And wouldn't you like to be that person? Uranus is not an emotional planet. It doesn't bring up deep emotion. It creates change. Because Aquarians like change. Because sometimes, rocking the boat is a good thing. Sometimes going off into the ocean without navigational gear takes you somewhere you've never even dreamed of. That's what this entire retrograde situation is doing and suggesting and calling you and actually seducing you into, which is actually what I'm trying to seduce you into today. So what's happening with that? So the planet, the rebel planet, it's so funny, has been in Taurus for a really long time. And I can tell you that the planet Uranus is not happy in Taurus, because Taurus is the sign that says, don't ever change. It's also the planet of great sensuality. If you're a Taurian, we know that about you. but you might accept a little changes in your life. It might be good for you. So what does that mean? It means that the planet that has been pushing us to be the rebel, to be the individual, to say everything we believe, to maybe start a revolution, is saying, okay, wait, maybe you should go back inward and examine this. What revolution do you really want to start? And thank you, Delea. Thank you. I just saw your comment. Hey, all of you who are not commenting, the ice has been broken. You can go into Facebook and know that people are commenting. And, ooh, there's something on text. This was interesting. But not for me. It's not texting to me. And those of you who are texting on my personal phone, you're also not the first. The ice has been broken. You can say something. So what if we're being asked what revolution you really want to start and what's the result of that? Before you move in that direction, look deeply. Don't be carried along by the crowd. Go back to who you are as an individual and what you truly believe. Turn off the news. Turn off the chatter. Turn off the voices that are telling you here's right and here's wrong and here's up and here's down. Don't even go for shades of gray between black and white. Try turquoise, for gosh sakes. Try something brilliant. That's what it is asking you to do. And we got one more planet retrograde. I have to tell you that this is the planet Pluto, and if you don't make friends with the planet Pluto and you get a Pluto transit, it's going to hurt. Your best choice in life, often become friends with planet Pluto. Why? And I know, maybe it's not a planet. Maybe it's a dwarf planet. Pluto does not care. People tell me Pluto is the god of the underworld. No. Pluto is a goddess. She is the old grandmother shaman who seduces you, calls you into the forest at night. There's lightning, there's thunder, not quite rain, but there's wind. There's noises you can't identify. And the seduction is that she says to you, I have the answer you asked for. I have the answer. This is what you wanted. Here's what you prayed for. I got it. Come here. And you get into that forest, and it's dark. Can you feel this? Just for a moment, close your eyes. It's dark. The wind is blowing. There's flashes of light, and you know they're there even with your eyes closed. And there's a rumble. There's a rumble in the distance. And there she is. There she is. And I don't know what she looks like for you, but there she is. The most amazing, powerful female energy you've ever seen. And she says, come. And you say, never mind. I've changed my mind. Not into this. No. Looks hard. And she says, too late. Your choice is to make friends with Pluto. Because Pluto is the planet of creative destruction. Did you get that? Creative destruction. What does that mean? You can't change until you let go. Just imagine this for a minute. You decide to remodel something in your house. Well, you got to rip it apart first. You don't remodel by putting something on top of it, right? You want life to change? Often what you have to do is let go. Let it be destroyed. Truly, let it be destroyed. I'm refreshing Facebook to see if any of you are out there talking to me. Let it be destroyed. Here's my story, and I'm sure you've heard me say this, but Saturn is retrograde and Pluto is retrograde, and these are good friends. These planets are really good friends, and they are in your chart to help you open up to your North Node, right? Which we're not going to talk about today, but to help you open up to that North Node, because that's your soul's craving. And everything is here to help you do that. So imagine for a moment you inherited a house, and it's god-awful ugly, but it's got the most beautiful view, and the location is amazing. And you see it, and it's free, and it's there for you, and you hate it, but you love the location. And you think, from your Saturn perspective, it has good bones. I'll just remodel it. And as you're standing there trying to imagine how to remodel this, Your best friend Pluto drives up with a wrecking ball. Says, get out of the way. I'm going to do you a favor. Or get out of the way. I'm going to do you a favor. And swings that wrecking ball on that house. And you stand there going, no, the bathroom wasn't that bad. Really, I could redo it. And Pluto goes, what are you talking about? And it was tiny and odd-shaped and olive green, and it had shag carpet, and oh my God, take it to ground. And you suddenly realize that when you take it to ground, what do you get to do? You get to build it exactly as you want it. Think about that. Exactly as you want it. You don't have to remodel it. You don't have to go and create something based on what somebody gave you, what you were left with, the leftovers. You sweep them away and create life anew. That's Pluto. It's retrograde. It is calling for your attention. It's retrograde in Capricorn. Now, it's been messing with the planet and definitely the U.S. for a while. And it is also, just in case you were wondering about this energy, it is the Pluto return of the United States. We're in orb of it. It may not be exact right this moment, but we're in orb. So look at what's happening. The people fighting to keep the same structure in place, even though we've outgrown it on some level, or the world has moved, or we need to evolve, or anything. But they liked the past, and they're trying to go backwards. And Pluto's saying, yeah, won't work. And Uranus saying, be careful what you do with this. Just be careful, you know? Yeah, before you start a revolution, make sure you know what you're going to put in its place. And Neptune's saying, dig deep, dig deep. What's inside you? What do you know to be true from your innermost core? Not from the language you hear, the yelling, the screaming, not from that. From you. From your true place of being. And Mercury is saying, well, before you yell this out to the world, stop and think. What do you want to say? Be clear. Be clear. Because words fly away. Kind of like, like if you have a feather pillow and you shake it, those words fly away. You can't go gather them back. And Mercury is saying, take your time. Slow down. Just slow down. Go inward. All of this is about going inward. So imagine if each of us did this. Do you remember at the start of 2020, and I know it was terrible, but do you remember how there was a period there where we were looking at if you had a computer, you were looking and the air cleared and there was no smog and the animals were coming out of the woods and looking in our windows, and the world was different because we stopped. This is a chance to do that. Now, if you're living life on the loose, one of the things that I suggest is to build in a stopping point every week. I'm Jewish, I use Shabbat. But you can use anything. You can use an hour of every day or a day of every week. That you just stop the chatter. And you do what the stars right now are telling you to do, which is to go inward. To listen to that part of you that speaks so well. Think about that. What would happen if we each did that? Would the skies clear? Would there not be bombs falling and people screaming at each other? Like, would we be kinder? Would we try a bit of compassion? And in that, would we know that we could still grow and build a life of abundance? Because I'm not telling you that, my brother once said to me, it was so funny, he said, ecology's great and taking care of the planet's great, but I don't want to be sitting cold and hungry in the dark. I'm like, how is that connected to taking care of each other on this planet? Cold and hungry in the dark is what we get when we don't take care of each other, when we don't reach out, when we don't take care of the planet, when we don't listen. Am I right? That's not what happens when we're paying attention. So what is today about? I'm almost at the end of my time. I've only got 5 minutes. I've heard from a couple of you on my phone, my private number. Nobody on the studio phone. I'm feeling like I'm going to have abandonment issues, quite frankly. I need you guys to chat with me. only one comment on Facebook, and it's a lovely comment. Thank you to Leah, who, by the way, is this amazing psychic friend of mine. She doesn't like to hear herself said that way. But if you want to know something about your relationship with your best animal, your horse especially, but also all you women who love large dogs, she'll work with you too. She can look at a picture of your animal and get their soul's craving and why they're in relationship with you. Amazing, magical stuff. You can find her on Facebook, and I'll put the link in my site later on when I'm off the show. But today is about this magical time we're in, this moment, and this notion that time is marked, that you hit a time, and the past that has happened on this day has a resonance. Do you know that, was it Mexico, has had 3 major earthquakes on the exact same date? That's like the odds of that were computed, and it was like 0.0005 or something. And yet time is marked, and our souls listen, and our bodies respond, and the body of this planet responds. And now is the time. Now, you want to know what that's about for you specifically? I mean, this is great general information, and believe me, this is general astrological information. Specific astrological information, specific, is where does all this show up in your chart, and what does that mean? And for those of you who are still poo-pooing this, let me just say, if you're into Myers-Briggs, it's based on astrology. If you're into Enneagram, it's based on astrology. If you're into Strengths Inventory, archetypes, anything that has archetypes, it goes back to astrology. And I don't predict, like I said, I'm not going to tell you today your book is going to get published, or tomorrow you better turn right instead of left, or you better whatever. I am going to tell you, here's the energy that you are living in right now, and mentor you through the choices. What do I say I do? I'm a bridge crosser. I see rickety bridges across raging streams, and I cross them. And I look back and I say, you can do this too. I'm not a coach. I don't cheer you on. I just walk with you. I'm a mentor, using the astrology and the psychology to help you find that soul's craving, to find it, to embrace it, and to live it. And so today's show is really about you, about how is this true for you. And where can you find me? My website's elisarobin.com. You can email me directly, elisarobin@msn.com. Put a Y in that Robin. Make sure you do that. You can also find me on Facebook. You can also find me on, I'm just kind of looking at what's going on here, on my websites, on all my computers. You can find me on my website, and also I have some giveaways today. So if you've listened all the way to here, I've only got 1 minute left and then I'm off. If you go to my website and sign up for my website and email me that you've done that, just connect with me, and all that information's on my website. I'm actually giving away 3 free breakthrough sessions where I will look at your chart and tell you what your South and North Node are. Not a whole reading, it's a 20-minute breakthrough session, and they're free. Okay, that's it for today. I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'm going to teach you how to use a crystal ball, believe it or not, because we're moving into October, and so crystal balls are perfect, right? What do I want to say to you? I want to leave you with a few thoughts. First off, stay safe, stay healthy, but also stay inspired. Let that little flame inside you burn, glow brightly, even as you pause. Use this time to pause. And as you stay well, and you stay curious, and you stay inspired, keep living on the loose. See you in 2 weeks.